Let's pay homage to the lineage gurus, to the Venerable Mang Liaoming, to Master Sakya Chengkong, to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa, and to Master Thupten Dorji. And let's pay homage to the three jewels of the altar. And the main deity of Homa today, Ganapati, the Red Jambala. So, Tanchen Katso to Tanshiti. All Dharma masters, Dharma educators, Dharma teachers, Dharma lecturers, Dharma assistants, directors of temples and chapters, and all disciples present here and over the internet. Good afternoon, everyone. How do you do?
Hola amigo, que quiero mucho. Skoin, Ichiban, Kimoji, Jimmy, Yabi, Bring, Konnichiwa.
Today, we perform the Homa of Red Jambala. And we all know about the Red Jambala. That's the elephant trunk wealth deity or fortune god. I remember when I visited India, it happened to be the birthday of Red Jambala. So in New Delhi, on that day, they had the fireworks. Everywhere there were fireworks. They were celebrating the birthday of Red Jambala. In Hinduism, Ganapati is considered the fourth in line, fourth major gods after the creator Brahma, the protector god Vishnu, and the destroyer god Shiva. They were the Trinity, the three major gods, and Ganesh, or Red Jambala, was the son of Shiva. And in Tibetan Tantrayana, so at the Tibetan Tantrayana, he's the Tibetan Tantric wealth deity. So in Tibet, he's one of the 5 major wealth deities. It's a main wealth deity. In Tibetan Tantric, the 5 world deities are the yellow Jambala, red Jambala, green Jambala, white Jambala, and black Jambala.
那红财神呢？他另外一只手是拿着这个罗卜的叶子。
One of his hands is holding the carrot leaves, and what for is or are the carrot leaves? They say that he's counting the wealth of each person. He's in charge of the assets or wealth of everyone. So he's in charge and he knows how much wealth each one of us is endowed with. And there is a way to get the bestowal from Red Jambala. The method is to make offering to him. Because we know he loves carrots. And bananas. So he eats carrots and bananas. And the main offering is dance, Vajra songs, Vajra dances, Vajra play, and Vajra beauty. These 5 things. So, Vajra beauty is when you pay homage to the Red Jambala, you need to bathe, cleanse your body, and you need to dress up and beautify yourself. And for the men, they need to dress neatly, and the woman should dress up. That's what he likes. So this flowery, so the flower embellishment or beautifying. So if you use offerings of ornaments and embellishment, that would be wonderful. Can I pick up this statue? So, if you dress up like that or beautify yourself like that, that's called the Vajra beauty. So today, when Grandmaster invoked the Red Jambala, I did visualize Vajra song, Vajra dance, Vajra play, and Vajra beauty or beautician, beautiful
红财神显特别的
as offering to Rajamala, and he seemed to be very happy.
特别欢喜，
And since he was very happy,
赐给大家
he would bestow to everyone wealth.
有人问我什么是金刚歌，什么是金刚舞。
Someone asked me what Vajra song, Vajra dance, Vajra play, Vajra beauty is. So today I have explained what Vajra beauty is about. And Vajra song, Vajra dance, and Vajra play
是不能在这里讲，
cannot be talked about here.
列为一种机密。
It is confidential or
金
secret.
刚歌、金刚舞、金刚嬉戏是不能
Vajra song, Vajra dance, and Vajra play cannot be
我会跟你讲。
talked about publicly. If you ask me in private, I will tell you.
你如果没有问，我就不会讲。
And if you don't ask, I will not tell.
那我是尊有观想，金刚
And
歌、
Grandmaster visualize Vajra song, Vajra
金
dance,
刚华妈、金刚
Vajra beauty, Vajra play. 金刚歌叫做 The Vajra song.
金刚歌呢，在藏是都接 Luten， 都接
In Tibetan,
都
Dorje
接 Luten， 都接嘎，就是金刚歌跟金刚舞。
Luten and Dorje Ka are Vajra song and Vajra dance.
金刚路
One of the words may not be right.
金刚嘎
Vajra
金
Ka,
刚舞
that's Vajra dance.
金刚路
Dorje.
天，就是金，属于金刚舞。
So Vajra Lute should be Vajra dance.
因为是金刚歌、金刚舞、金刚嬉戏，是不能讲。
So Vajra song, Vajra dance, and Vajra play cannot be talked about publicly, and that's the best way to offer to Rajambala.
那它的这个来源呢，
His origin
就是这个嘎拉巴蒂是那个希瓦
Ganapati
帕尔瓦蒂，他的
was the son of Shiva and Parvati.
所生的小孩，就是甘女。
Ganesh or Rajambala.
那现在通知大家呢，
Now I would like to announce one next Sunday, May 29th at 3 p.m.
是牵手牵眼
There will be the thousand eye, thousand arm Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva Homa fire offering ceremony.
哇，这一尊是这个不得了的。
This deity is
千
remarkable.
超法传的超度里面，
In my Bardo deliverance of the thousand eye, thousand arm Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, of the Bardo deliverance of the thousand vessels, I saw
它也就是第一，
him descending numerous times.
它一共有11个头，
And he has 11 heads,
就11地的菩萨，
symbolizing the 11th ground of Bodhisattva
等是佛了，
which is the same as Buddhahood.
所献给观世音菩萨。
Thousand armed, thousand eyed, Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva
是所有观世音菩萨当中，其中一尊很有 power 的观世音菩萨。
has the most power, or the very powerful of all the Avalokitesvara Bodhisattvas.
千烧法船。
The thousand vessel Bardu deliverance, the thousand eye, thousand arm Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva helped me the most. One time I saw all of his hands, 1,000 hands were holding 1,000 Dharma vessels, Dharma ships. One time, that's what I saw, exactly 1,000 of them. So something happened. And Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva, after taking the Dharma vessel on his hands, and by soul travel, divine travel, he brought them to Sukhavati, the Western Buddhaverse Pure Land. So the Homa on May 29th is truly wonderful and a rare Homa. 这个人啊，过了中年以后， People after middle age will find out the true face of life in this world, the one that can wake you up every day. It's not your dreams and not the alarm, not your kids, and not your wives, but it's your bladder. That makes sense. After we live to be 70s or after 80s, if you don't wear any diaper, that means you succeed. Some people in their 70s or 80s would have to wear diapers when they sleep at night. Right? In the grocery stores, they sell diapers. You would have never thought, if you don't, then you are considered a successful person, and Grandmaster is one of them. However, the one that wakes me up often is not the alarm clock. Sumu doesn't wake me up anymore. Before she did, but not now. So not Sumu, not the alarm clock, but that thing, XX. I remember this joke about cannibals. The chief of a cannibal tribe asked his subordinates to hunt for people to eat. How about the nobilities? No,
太油腻。
that's too greasy.
那这样子是抓这个平民老百姓吗？
How about just the common people? And the chief said no.
老百姓太
The common people suffered a lot, so they're bitter.
是相关语相关语。其实我记得的那个食人族的笑话，好像也还
I remember 2 other jokes
一个
about
呢
cannibals.
是一个食人族的父亲跟儿子
So father and son were
被抓了，
hiding in the forest, trying to hunt for people.
走过来一个像慧君一样的，
And a lady like Master Hui Jin was walking by,
哇，这胖胖的，圆滚滚。
round and fat.
儿子问父亲：“这个好吗？
And the son asked the dad, "Is this good?"
太油腻。
And dad said, "Nah, too greasy,
突然
too fat."
来一个
And then there's another one
许一样，
that looks like Lian Xu.
联系法师，
The Reverend Lian Xu, very skinny and
那儿子问父亲
bony.
这个好吗？
So the son asked, "How about this one? Is it good?"
父亲就讲：
And dad said,
这都是皮，
"Oh, just
都是
skin,
皮，太瘦了，
too bony,
肉
no
拿
meat."
过，
So
又来一个
let him pass by.
多汁了，
And then
多汁了，
there's a
很漂亮，
charming, beautiful lady.
走了过来，身材非常的高挑俊玉。
And with nice figure,
问父亲
slim and tall. And the son asked the dad, "How about this one? Is this good?" And dad said, "Okay, let's
我把你妈妈
capture her, and then we'll eat your mom."
这食人族的笑话，
This is
食人族
joke.
的这个酋长，坐飞机啊，那个航空小姐就问
So the chief of the cannibal tribe was flying on an airplane, and the stewardess asked him,
地
"Do you want chicken or beef?"
哇，beef。食人族的酋长就说我都不要，
And he
这
said,
里有
"None of that.
这个
But do you have
乘客的名单吗？
the name list of the passengers?"
飞机上乘客的名单，这是食人族的笑话。
So those are jokes about the cannibals.
儿子问父亲：“爸爸，什么是酒？
The son asked dad, "So dad, what is a
在晚上
drunkard?"
就指着天上，
And at night, dad pointed to the sky.
天上有几个月亮？
Take a look. How many moons are there in the sky? And the son said, "1."
2个月亮。
And dad said, "No, 2."
月亮。
And the son said, "No, it's 1." And he kept saying 2.
那爸爸就告诉儿子：“当你看到2个月亮的时候，就是醉了。
Dad told the son, "When you see 2 moons, then you're drunk."
好，现在进入你问我答。
Now we'll do the Q&A.
莲
Question from Australia.
这个读作少吧，
Yanhua.
音乐的音，一个招，
How do you pronounce this character?
招啊，
Sao? Sao.
莲花少风，我吹也莲花少风问，
Yanhua Sao
顶
Hong.
礼师尊佛啊，
Homage to Guy Master.
行
Peace be with you.
大概需要
In my 4 preliminary practice, I spend about 30 minutes for the beginning part of the practice. When I reach the main part, I have so many running thoughts that I cannot sit still. It doesn't work well. And when I practice only the main part, i.e. visualization and mantra chanting, do I need to first chant the purification mantras, invocation, create homage offering, fulfill refuge, armor protection first, and afterwards do I need to dedicate the merit? I practice the 4 preliminary practice and I spend about 30 minutes for the beginning part. When I reach the main part, I have so many running thoughts and cannot sit still. It doesn't work well. So, separately, when I practice only the main part, which is the visualization and mantra chanting, do I also need to first chant the purification mantras, invocation, homage offering, fulfill refuge, and armor protection first? Do you understand what he's asking?
你们听得懂吗？
The question is unclear. So if you have many running thoughts, that's normal. If you don't have running thoughts, then that would be abnormal. No one is an exception. So don't think that having running thoughts is not working well. Please don't think that way. Let me tell you, everyone has myriad thoughts and you cannot stop them. It is difficult, very difficult, to change them into one thought, which is samadhi. If you only have one thought, then you have entered samadhi. So having myriad thoughts, that's normal. At the beginning of spiritual cultivation, everyone has the running thoughts, and they are like the waterfalls. It's non-stop. It's never stopped. Have you seen a waterfall that the water ceases and then continues later? No, it's continual. So as a human being, we have many thoughts. So in your spiritual practice too, you would have lots of thoughts. So you just let it be. Just take it naturally. Just continue and finish it. So to ask you to do 9-cycle Buddha breathing is to teach you to concentrate on your breathing. Once you concentrate, then you are single-minded, and then you enter samadhi, and then you do treasure waves, energy yoga, and enter samadhi. So let me tell you this first. So you have so many myriad thoughts, and you cannot sit still. But you should continue to sit even when you have myriad thoughts, because thoughts are normal, and they will gradually decrease. And because you do the 9-cycle Buddha breathing, then it would be more normal. There are many ways to eradicate the myriad thoughts. I've talked about it many times. So you train to gradually decrease your myriad thoughts. When you empty your mind by visualizing emptiness, and then you visualize the yidam, chant the yidam's mantra, and you need to chant the purification mantras, invocation, homage offering, fourfold refuge, armor protection. They all needed. The same when we do Homa, we also do the great homage using visualization, offering, fourfold refuge, chant the mantra, armor protection, using the Vajrapani. And the merit dedication is at the end of your practice. And when you practice the 4 preliminary practice, at the end of each of the preliminary practice, you need to merit dedication. At the end of your Dhamma practice, you dedicate the merit, and then you exit the Samadhi. In the Vimalakirti Sutra, it was mentioned. So if you still enter Samadhi and exit Samadhi, that would be different from Vimalakirti. Vimalakirti is different. He did not enter Samadhi, he did not exit Samadhi, because he is in Samadhi at any time. There is no such thing as exiting Samadhi. So is it the case that sometimes when you're in Samadhi you become the yidam, but when you exit Samadhi you're not the yidam? No such thing. It's mentioned in the Vimalakirti Sutra. So you, spiritual cultivators, are still talking about entering and exiting Samadhi, like the Arhats would be entering Samadhi, and when they open their eyes, they exit Samadhi. So when they enter Samadhi, you are an Arhat, but when you exit Samadhi, you are a mundane being. No such thing, according to the Vimalakirti Sutra. You always amid Samadhi anytime.
Anytime, meditation. Anytime, 没有停止过，做任何事都是精神。
It's non-stop at any time. Whatever you do, you're always very focused and single-minded. When you talk about the sutras, Dhamma teaching, also in concentration, like grandma cough and has an itchy throat. Oh, that would be problematic at this era. Luckily, it only happened for a few seconds. As an elderly, even the saliva can make you choke. And if you drink water, it's even easier to choke. As an old person, when you eat and drink, you have to do them slowly. The esophagus and it would make you choke. It happens even when you swallow saliva. And you would know when you reach that age. I remember Master Liu Wenqing. When he was about to speak on the microphone, he would always clearing his throat, and people would say that, oh, he's just kind of whipping us. Do you remember? Every time before he sang or spoke, he always cleared his throat really loudly before he could sing or speak. And Grandmaster didn't have to do that, so that's pretty good. But just once in a while, choking is understandable. I think it was last week that I coughed a couple of times, and immediately in Zoom, someone had said, "Oh, please, Grandmaster, pay attention to your health. Be healthy." Oh, it's so hard to be a guru. I have to hold even when I feel like coughing. It's hard to be a Grandmaster Lu. I just cough a couple of times, and people immediately paid attention, and they sent me so many throat coughs, drops, and things. Long Jiao San from Taiwan, made in Japan. She sent it to the from BN, which gave it to me. Thank you for your kind intent.
所以我觉得杂念不要管，你把一坛法整齐的修好很重要。
So don't worry about your myriad thoughts, just complete your Dharma practice. If you don't have much time, then you just do the main part. But if you have time, then you should do the complete Dharma practice. Like if you're on a plane, you can just do the main part. You don't have to do the full preliminary practice. You just get into the main part directly. If you're outside and around many people, you can just do the main part. Visualization, mantra chanting, and entering samadhi. That's the main part. Second question. Why do we have to wait until we have fruition in our preliminary practices before we can engage in the inner tantric practices? Is it because we haven't purified our karma in our body, and speech and mind are not completely pure, so that if we practice the chi channels and light drops, they can be intensified, that it is prone to generate wrong thoughts? So nowadays, people practice four plenary and the inner tantric together. But before, it was step by step, the four plenary practices, the root guru yoga, the main deity yoga, and then the inner tantric practices, and the highest yoga tantra, and the great perfection. That's how it was in the past. But now, people start the inner tantric practices when you start practicing the Yidam deity or deity yoga. And in Grandmaster's opinion, it's fine. So you can do the inner tantric practices when you start practicing the deity yoga, or you can wait until you have fruition in the deity yoga to start the inner tantric practices, because once you can spiritual union with your yidam, it would be easier for you to practice the inner tantric practices, because the yidam will guide you. That's the main reason why. So the practice of the chi channels and light drops,
比较激烈就是保平气，激烈的气就是保。
The intense qi practice is called the treasure vase energy yoga. Then the energy will change a little bit conspicuously. So, of course, if your mind is not pure, it would affect. So that's why we need to have a pure body, speech, and mind. And for the body, you form the mudra. The speech, you chant the mantra. And then the visualization for the mind. So you need to do all three of them. Of course, if your mind is impure, then your visualization is impure, and then it would generate bad thoughts. Is there similarity between Taoist energy practice and the Tantric inner practice? Yes. Is it okay if I practice the Taoist celestial circulation practice first? The major circulation, minor circulation, while doing the four preliminary practices, so that upon fruition I can change to do the inner practices? Otherwise, by that time, I might be too old to start practicing inner fire. Are there similarities between Taoist and Tantric Qi practices? Yes. It's not the primary practice. It's a supplementary. Because the visualization of the wheels are different from Tantric's visualization. In Taoism, they use the channels of Ren and Du, the major and minor celestial circulations. Those are Taoist. All those Taoist terms, of course, there are similarities. However, the circulation, visualization in Tantric practice is different from Taoist. And there are also many different schools in Taoism. And there are many different schools in Tantric Buddhism as well. And they are all slightly different. If you're too old, you cannot ignite the inner fire. That's true. Because when you age, your body has weakened and you cannot ignite the inner fire. It's easier to ignite the inner fire when you're young. The ascent and descent of the inner fire has been explained very clearly in Tantric Buddhism. And the fire needs the light drops. And as you age, the light drops will decrease. So the light drops, like the fuel, has decreased. Not like Grandmaster. Grandmaster can speak for a few hours in his Dhamma teaching. That's why, because I still have saliva. But if you have dry mouth, it's impossible for you to talk, to give Dhamma teaching. When you're old, you have to practice your tongue. That's very important. You need to be able to move your tongue so that you can pronounce clearly. Otherwise, people will not understand what you're saying. So that's why old people, what old people say cannot be understood. You have to listen very carefully because their tongue has stiffened. Why?
嘴巴的唾液没有了，有时候
Because they don't have any more saliva, so sometimes they cannot
没有唾液了，不能说法。
generate sound.
我这样子算是很好的，还是有唾液啊。每一天晚上我都以这个
So I'm already very good. I still have saliva
一下降，
every night.
然后在舌头里面
The celestial water or the body chakra, the light drops still descend, and I turn
拖一下，
my tongue
来表示说。
and to practice the tongue and the speech. So there's still saliva being produced in Grandmaster's body, so that means it's pretty good.
那是真的。
And he said that when you're old, you can't ignite the inner fire, and that is true. Because the fire is almost extinguished,
火都快要灭了，
and the water is almost dry. How can you, why do you want to practice inner fire
零
then?
点都快要干掉了。年纪大就这样了，年轻。
So that's how it is when you're old. The water is almost dried up. When you're young, you have so much body chakra water, and also the life-generating palace is also very energetic and dynamic when you're young.
孤魂前世少年人，不要以为
Don't think that you want to start training when you're old,
埋葬
because
是很年轻的人。
in the cemetery, many that are buried are young people.
他问的，习惯了气
Question number 4.
都二脉，到了修内法时改为中脉。
By doing the Taoist Qi practice is to make the Qi circulate in the two channels of Ren and Tu.
你有道家的，
And later,
再来
switching to do the tantric inner practices, which utilizes central channel, will it help? Yes, of course. Because you have the
告诉
foundation.
你一件事情，你修内法，
Let me tell you one thing.
修到
When you perform the inner tantric
能够在
practices
中脉当中走动，
until the qi can flow inside your central channel,
第一个得到的就是大乐。
then what you experience, what you gain is the great bliss.
脉走动，
As soon as the qi flows inside the central channel,
引出来的快乐，
the bliss generated by your body
24小时
lasts 24 hours.
一般人的男女之间的乐
The ecstasy
就
or
没
bliss between a man and a woman only lasted momentarily,
明点通过
and then it's gone. That's due to the movement of the light drops through such a short thing.
一下子，这一段时间你快乐，
Just
再来就没有，
very fast. So you experience the bliss only for such short moment,
再来就是泄气，
and then it became cold
就泄
and
气，全身无
you lost your energy and totally.
那个气在空中脉的时候啊，跟明点
But when qi flows in the central channel,
差不多的，是差不多的，只是
gives the same sensation as the light drop moving through that
又
thing.
升上去，走下来。
And yet the qi moves up and down and up and down, and that's a 24-hour bliss, non-stop.
在通脉，
So even when you sleep at night, you're also opening your
快
channels.
乐的没有
And day and night, you're always happy.
才叫做喜乐。
You're never sad. Only then it's called Atmos bliss.
修内法有这样子的好处。
So that's the benefit of inner
我们
practice.
生活中有人修到这个境界吗？有。
Are there people who have reached such a state? Yes, even the people who are here now, who are always blissful 24 hours a day, they don't need to be in consort practice, just in solitary practice, and always blissful 24 hours a day, because the qi is moving in the channels all the time. As soon as the qi wraps against the channel for a very long, up and down, 24 hours a day, that's extremely blissful. It's something beyond your imagination unless you experience it yourself. Like when you drink water, how it tastes, the temperature, only you know, and someone has experienced it. So congratulations, that person has experienced the bliss, the great bliss. And afterwards, you also need to experience luminosity or clear light radiance. And then next is to experience emptiness, which is empty nature or Buddha nature. That's the stages of spiritual cultivation. 5:10 already. The teacher asks, "It's my birthday tomorrow, and you're about to graduate. What gift will you give your teacher?" And student A said, "Flower." A flower. B said, "A bouquet of flowers." C said, "Also flowers." And Ming said, "I will not give you flowers. That's too common. I will give you something special." And the teacher was pleased and asked him, "What are you going to give me?" And Ming replied, "I will make a circle of flowers, of all the flowers given by the fellow classmates, and then put a photograph in the middle." Ming went to the fortune teller, and the fortune teller said, "Hey, after the divination, how come you didn't give any money?" And left. "Oh, couldn't you tell that I didn't have any money?" This is too long. Yesterday we were talking about chapter 1, Buddha verse. In Tantrayana, it also exists. What is Buddha verse? As a tantric sadhaka, every morning when you wake up, you want to visualize that where you are is a Buddha verse. And who are you? You are the yidam. And who's the father? That's the Buddha father. And your mother is the Buddha mother. And your wife? It's Buddha wife. And your children? That's Buddha children. And you are the main deity or yidam. So your mom, dad, your wife, your children, they're all Buddhas. And your house is transformed into a palace, the palace of your yidam. And then you go to work, And then your bosses are great bodhisattvas, your co-workers are all bodhisattvas, and the people that you see on the roads are spiritual cultivators in the Buddha-verse, Buddha universe. So if you visualize that at any time, that's this chapter on Buddha-verse. So what it means here, that Sakyamuni Buddha was in the Amra garden in the city of Vaisali. So there was a Buddha-verse. Sakyamuni Buddha was the Yidam who was speaking the Dharma. And he was accompanied by 8,000 great monks and 32,000 bodhisattvas. And all the lay practitioners and all people gathered there at the Amra garden. So at such time, that place was a Buddha-verse, we can say. Thus have I heard. As we all know, at the beginning of the sutra, there's always this phrase. Ananda remembered everything that he saw, and he could remember many things. All the sutras that Sakyamuni Buddha had spoken would be remembered by Ananda. There was a custom in ancient India, is that when the Guru was speaking up above, the disciples listening cannot take notes, so you only rely on your memory, and Ananda had the great memory. So, thus have I heard, means that I was there and I heard this. Ananda was there and heard it. At one time, at such time, there was the concept of time then. Sakyamuni Buddha was in the garden offered by the Lady Amra. That's why it is called Amra Garden. Accompanied by 8,000 great monks or great bhikkhus. Great bhikkhus, which means great monks. I will explain what they are. And 32,000 bodhisattvas. There were 32,000 of them. Some people ask me, so strange. The great bhikkhus, there were 8,000. Did they count them one by one? So let me ask you, how many people are there now in this Homa hall? You can. So someone asked me, did they count one by one, 8,000, and the bodhisattvas 32,000? How many of them? And Sakyamuni Buddha did not have microphone then. How could they hear the Dharma? How could the 8,000 great bhikkhus hear it? How was the Dharma teaching given? Now we have microphone. Nowadays we need microphone so the sound can travel. Otherwise, how can it be heard? The people were asking me this question. So did they count them one by one for 32,000? No. because the Buddha had the supernormal power. He naturally knew. Arhats too had some supernormal power. They know, so they just counted it spiritually or do it by closing their eyes and the number would appear. So don't be doubtful, don't be skeptical about this. I went to Gridakuta, which is the vulture peak, the place where the Buddha gave Dharma teachings. There were only a few bricks, the seats of the Buddha surrounded by a few bricks. It's about less than half of this Homa hall. It's rectangular. And there are mountains and cliffs around it. So then not very long, not very spacious, so just that place. And that's where Sakyamuni Buddha gave Dharma teaching. How many people could fit in there? It's quite limited. So I thought that the great monks and bodhisattvas maybe were hanging on the trees. So at that time, that's what I thought. How many could sit there? Because they always said that like 2,500 Buddhas, 2,500 people gathered. And in the Amitabha Sutra, there were 1,250 people, an assembly of 1,250 people at the vulture peak. But when I saw it, I think it could only fit about 200 people. No way it could fit 1,000 people. Maybe they were stacked, or I don't know how they counted. Something is important here about the great bhikkhus or great monks. The so-called bhikkhus are always male. Monks are always males. The four groups of the Sangha, of the believers, bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, upasakas, upasikas. Upasakas are male lay practitioners and upasika are female lay practitioners. And bhikkhus and bhikkhunis are the ordained Sangha. So the great bhikkhu is typically a monk over 60 years old, or someone who strictly abides by the precepts, like the arhats. They were referred as the great bhikkhus. Now it's 5:22. Can I continue? What is different between Sakyamuni Buddha and Vimalakirti is Sakyamuni Buddha emphasized precepts, keeping the precepts, what can be touched, what cannot be touched, what can be eaten, what cannot be eaten, what kind of place you can live in and what cannot. They are specified what kind of outfit you can wear, what kind of outfit you cannot wear. Sakyamuni Buddha strictly abided by the precepts, and all these great bhikkhus, great monks, and the arhats abided by the precept. They had many very strict precepts or codes of disciplines. They cannot touch the alcohol. In the sutra, it was mentioned that if you serve wine to a monk or to a spiritual cultivator, then you would live for 500 lifetimes without hands. You cannot even touch alcohol and you cannot sip alcohol, not to mention women. This is the rules of Sakyamuni Buddha. It's best that you don't even look at women. So your eyes should not even be in contact with women. When you see a woman is coming, you should look at the ground. You should not look at the woman. So if you really come across a nun, then you should look down to the ground, and you cannot say more than 4 sentences. That's how strict the rule was. Not even over 4 sentences. Not to mention touching, they have a certain distance. As if treating the woman as the COVID virus. So when you see her coming, and you should avoid it and hide. That's the rule. And for your food, no one would cook their own food or snack. No such thing. No snacks. No snacking. Or they eat while watching TV and lifting their legs for the monks and nuns. No such thing. Not allowed. They only eat once a day. Once a day. And it's from the alms begging. No kitchen. You're not allowed to cook. No fridge. No refrigerators. They cannot use any kitchens. I heard that monks and nuns, they have like 2 or 3 refrigerators, and only for themselves, cannot be used by other people. In the future, we have to inspect all the storms and your beds. You need to make your bed, clean up, tidy up. There shouldn't be any dust at all. There are many rules as for your residence or abode. In the past, you live under the tree, in between the tombs, and in the caves, or under the trees. So your bed is in between 2 tombs. Now you have beds, but no such thing before. So spiritual cultivation is a hardship. You just eat once a day. So when you get your food, you need to visualize that the delicious food is visualized to become poo. So you eat poo and drink pee. So what Master Changden taught us in Cantonese was good. That the monks or the Dharma teachers eat poo and drink pee. When he taught Cantonese to Fo Qing and Fo Qi, first he taught them the Fa-Si eats poo and drinks pee, and they did in the ancient time. So they visualize them to be poo and pee, the dirtiest stuff, before they eat them. no such thing as delicious food.
犯戒，
If you don't do it, then you violate the precepts.
卧的跟你讲，睡觉，
For sleep,
在岩洞里面，
as I said,
找一个岩洞
inside
里
the
面
caves.
在那里休息。
So you practice inside the
大
caves,
树底下，
under the trees,
坟墓跟坟墓的中间，
in between the tombs.
现在的修行人比较小，以前释迦牟尼有时
But
代，
spiritual cultivators nowadays
严格才能
enjoy.
食、穿衣服，
So for food and clothing's all the same.
带衣，
You cannot have any
你没有出息的，
embellishments.
现在还有银行，
You cannot touch money. Now you have accounts at the banks. You cannot even touch money then.
这才叫做大比丘啊！
Only then you're referred as the great monks or great bhikkhus.
你们现在的比丘是小，
Nowadays you're just tiny
什么
bhikkhu.
大比丘？那时候的大比丘是这样子的。
How can you be referred as the great bhikkhu? The great bhikkhu then was like that. Food, clothing, it's very plain and simple. Nothing too decorative. And for food, you don't eat afternoon once a day, and you just eat from alms begging. And the clothings are the dirty clothings. And you live in caves under the trees between the tombs. And you travel or transport by walking bare feet. Now it's different. That's how they live their lives. Only then they are referred as the great bhikkhus. And that's a true spiritual cultivation. So now you know. So all these great bhikkhus followed Sakyamuni Buddha, cultivated spiritually this way. They were not wearing any jewelries or embellishments like Grandmaster, jades and precious jewels. But I'm just fulfilling the wishes of sentient beings. Because when I wear them, the people who offered them to me are very happy, very pleased. So I'm just following the wishes of sentient beings. So now it's different. Look at the outfits that Grandmaster is wearing, very bright and colorful. So it's different. But the great bhikkhus of the ancient time was like what I mentioned. So although Grandmaster is wearing this, all this, and it seemed very bright, but in reality my life is very simple and frugal. Up till today, this past 3 years, I only spent money on gas to fill the gas for the cars. I have not bought anything. Everything I use were given or offered by disciples, including this Lama outfit, my underwear, underpants, my bag, everything that I wear, all given by disciples, including the underwear, undershirt and underpants, even the underpants and the undershirts too. I never bought any of them. Have I spent any money?
没有，
No.
除了
For this past 3 years, except for
go to gas station buy the gas， 没有花，另外1毛钱都没有花。
I haven't spent a cent except for gas.
现在跟大家解释大比丘大比丘是怎么回事。
So that's my explanation for the great bhikkhus, because they abided by the precepts. That's why they are referred to as the great bhikkhus or great monks. Or else someone that's above 60 years old, a monk that's above 60 years old.
参谈大戒、具足戒。
So the great bhikkhu have to
今天跟大家
abide by the
求众，大家有印象。
major precepts of the 3 altars and more. So that's my explanation, so that it leaves impression on you.
有位傅先生，富甲四方，娶了小老婆。娶进门的那一天晚上，大老婆虽然不爽，但还是很礼貌地问傅先生讲。
Mr. Fu got the second wife, and the first wife was unhappy but still very polite and asked, "So, whom would you sleep with tonight?"
以后我想跟你睡觉，我就是想说，
So,
我喝
but we are educated, so this is too
白酒，
too plain. So if I drink red wine, I would sleep with you.
喝白酒。
If I drink white wine, I would sleep with the second wife.
大老婆又问傅先生，
So today
什么酒啊？
we just bought white wine, so I'll sleep with the white
是
wine.
喝白酒。
And then so the wife asks again, "So what wine would you drink
顺接
tonight?"
喝白酒。
So he wants white
第二
wine
晚上
again.
又过去了。第三个
And
晚
on
上，
the third
大老
night,
婆又问
the first wife asks
今
again,
晚喝什么酒啊？
"So what wine would you drink tonight?" And Mr. Fu said, "I drank white wine last night,
是喝白酒。
and it felt really smooth, so I will drink white wine
接连
again
3天都喝白酒，
and see if it would become
大
dry."
老婆就忍不住了，
And then after 3 nights in a row, the first wife couldn't stand it anymore.
可以拿出来招待客人。
"Can you use your red wines to serve the guests?"
我妈来给你弄。
Oh, Mani Padme Hum.